This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
So besides TNA, AJ's regularly going to be appearing in Ring of Honor and a bunch of other indie promotions. We've never really spent a lot of time talking about it, but how important was it that Ring of Honor and some of these other, I mean, there were some pretty interesting independents at the time, right? I mean, MLW was trying to do some stuff. It was an interesting era where there was a lot of folks trying to get something going. And then it felt like when you guys came along, it created an even bigger opportunity.
My old buddy Keith Mitchell, first one that really crafted in wrestling speak the kind of the theory of the vacuum. And when WCW went away, there was a lot of folks trying to fill that vacuum. WWA, Andrew McManus thought he immediately could capitalize on it. Ring of Honor startup, lots of independents. I mean, we could go XWF. Conrad, I mean, you've mentioned a few, but there was a big vacuum. So the independent scene, out of necessity, just exploded. I think what we're seeing right now is, in this modern era, is the streaming generation, that you don't have to have traditional TV to get a name. Look at Game Changer and others but during this time, lots of independent wrestling was popping up. Some went away by the wayside, some hung on, some made money.
So let's jump back in here and talk a little bit about what's going on and as you're trying to grow TNA, and it feels like these other promotions are starting to, some of them are falling by the wayside, but Ring of Honor does not. And eventually it becomes an impasse, and some of the talent has to make a choice. What can you tell us about that, and how AJ was sort of caught in the middle? Because boy, he was a big card for Ring of Honor as well.
And we covered this on a prior episode, and I'm trying to think of the timeline, but I think during the transition or the growing pains of going from just Wednesday night to Wednesday and Thursday, because we were shooting the Fox Sports program, we were just growing as a company. Jack's action figures, Marvel, the video game. I don't have the exact timeline, but we were needing, again, the growing pains of becoming a company that we need exclusive licensing rights. We need the ability to book these guys out. We had to, as a, basically episodic storytelling IP company, we need to make sure these guys are going to be around. And a lot of times we wanted to make sure, and we understood, okay, if he's a heel with this faction on our programming, and then he goes and wrestles somewhere else and he's a baby face in this storyline, it could get a little sticky and wonky, because the internet began to grow and the storylines and the exposure. And it was such a, at times, hard balancing act. Look, we understood these promoters, it's their money, it's their opportunity to make or lose money, so they've got to run their show. And it was an issue, it was a challenge, but I think everyone, in hindsight, did the best they can. Barron's told me this morning, and I said, well, as we were finishing the call, tell me your overarching thoughts of those formative years. And he says, in a lot of ways, Bill said this, not just me, not just AJ, but a lot of other guys in the 02, 03, 04, 05 era, we had a blast because you never knew what was next, and a lot of fun.
So Jeff, let's talk a little bit about, the early days of AJ Styles. I mean, we know he's going to become the first ever X Division champ. The main event on episode 2, June 26, 2002. It's him, Jerry Lynn, Low-Ki, and Psychosis. They go 25 minutes. Ricky Steamboat's the special guest referee. Of course, he's a former NWA champion. But a big moment for AJ. A guy like Jerry Lynn had been ECW World Champion, journeyman wrestler, well respected everywhere he went. Psychosis used to tear it up and make us all smile on Nitro. And Low-Ki, another one of those internet darlings, really one of the centerpieces of Ring of Honor. And you go with AJ. Is this more of hey, here's a chance to claim him as our own sort of homegrown guy, or what's the thinking behind AJ being the first guy here?
I mean, the balance of writing chapter 1 of TNA wrestling. And yes, I'd been WWF and WCW and Shamrock, and we could go through that list. How do we identify a brand new style of wrestling, a brand new division? And you just kind of laid out every reason. Jerry Lynn, incredible performer, that we want to go back to something that's been done. And low key, just you sort of laid it out. AJ was fresh, brand new. He just, again, checked every box with this guy can go. Obviously, I'd seen him perform. He was, for lack of a better word, I knew in my gut, this is the guy.
So any pushback from anybody on your side? I mean, like, was there any hesitation from your dad or anybody else about, hey, we're going with AJ as opposed to some of these other entities?
I don't recall a single person. No. He was so good at an early age in ring. It was really hard to vote against that.
He's even a double champion very quickly. Him and Jerry Lynn are going to win the NWA tag team titles on the 3rd TNA pay-per-view. So think about that. Episode 2, we strap him up with the X division. Episode 3, he's a tag champ. I think the first time you guys were in the ring together is the 9th weekly show, August 14th. It's you and Ron Killings going to a draw with AJ and Jerry Lynn. Meltzer would say the tag title match with Jarrett and Killings versus Styles and Lynn, as Styles had Killings pinned with a spinal tap and Jarrett pinned Lynn after the stroke. 2 referees raised different teams, ending with Bob Armstrong ruling the belts held up. Unfortunately, the match never clicked as Killings and Styles didn't work well together. But we're doing an interesting creative where, a guy from each side is getting a pinfall victory. There's 2 referees, a little bit of controversy. Meltzer didn't think it really clicked, but this is your first time in the ring with him when there's a camera on. Take us through it.
Yeah, I don't remember any specifics about this tag. What I do kind of remember diving into research and revisiting. God, it's hard to believe it was 20 years ago. It really is. But so time-wise, what was your date there? August? Was it August? That was 9? Okay. I just remember those first. So when we moved to the Asylum, there was a fresh, oh, wow, it's the old wrestling building where Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and the Fabs, even Kamala and Andy Kaufman and all that kind of stuff. So the first couple of shows had a ton of energy. Then all of a sudden, people were catching on like, okay, this is every Wednesday. But we had to sort of get our traction and our footing that we were there. And the storytelling arc that Nashville had been traditionally built in is come see payoffs on Saturday night, but watch the TV to get the episodic story. We were doing it all in one. So, and I'm not saying that's specifically this match. I can't imagine me, Killings, AJ Styles, and Jerry Lynn. I'm not saying we're going to have a 5-star match, but I mean, it's going to be, maybe it didn't click, but it's oh, buddy Dave, he's got his opinion.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.